Hi guys, welcome back to Babblings. I hope everyone's having a beautiful week. Where I am, we're starting to get some spring weather, which is really exciting. Last week was the spring equinox, which if you haven't already, over on my Substack, I put up a piece. It's called It Rained on the First Day of Spring. And it was just kind of like a rambling, almost journal entry, basically, of how I was feeling on the day of the spring equinox. I was telling my mom, I was just really annoyed. I was just, one, not feeling great. I had a hard time sleeping that night, a whole host of things. And I had a long day. Thursday's a long day of teaching for me. And so I was just, physically exhausted. It was so beautiful outside on the first day of spring. And I have been waiting for the spring equinox. I mean, if you, watch this, I said last week, I've been doing my time. I've been doing what I need to do to enjoy winter and wintering, but I was so ready for Aries season, so ready for spring, so ready for beautiful weather, and to feel that new invigorating feeling that comes with spring. And I was so fucking I was so motherfucking I say Allie in my head. I just said, Allie, don't say fucking, and then I say motherfucking. No, listen, I was so effing mad because it seemed like everybody else in the world was getting to enjoy the beautiful weather, and I was stuck inside, exhausted. I didn't eat lunch, a whole host of things. Anyways, I was so happy. It ended up raining when I got home, and you can read about it all in what I wrote, and kind of just how I realized, one, that spring isn't just automatically the flowers bloom, right? April showers bring May flowers, one of my favorite things as a May baby, because it's basically about me, a Mayflower, blooming. And so we have to remember that there's this beginning part of spring where we are watering the ground, where we are shedding and cleansing off the cage of winter and preparing for those new things to bloom. Yeah. Self-promo, go over to my Substack and subscribe. It'll be linked below. There's not a babbling report with this episode. I only do those once a month. But 2 weeks ago, because I do this bi-weekly, 2 weeks ago, for the last Babblings podcast, that was 2 weeks ago, what was that all about? Oh yeah, orgasming. That did have April's Babblings report that corresponded with it, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. I had lots of interesting things in there. It's how you can keep up with what I'm doing. If I'm not posting a podcast episode on a Friday, I am posting a writing piece. And I've been doing pretty good at that, so everybody can see over there. It's really random, whatever comes to mind. But yeah, that's what's over there on the Babblings Substack. Since the spring equinox, though, I have felt a bit more invigorated. I'm beginning to see the blossoms of these kind of seeds that I planted within myself in this last year. And when I moved into this apartment in the fall, after I had the awful fire and the most awful summer of my life, I was just thinking about, man, that just seems like a lifetime ago, but it was just this past summer that I was having one of the worst times of my life. But ever since I've moved into this apartment, I feel like I'm in life boot camp. I think I've talked about this before. I have too many fridges instead of an actual fridge, so I have to be really particular about what I put in my fridge and how I organize it, and what I buy and what I throw out and what I get rid of, and has really forced me to work on my food consuming and waste and all of that kind of stuff, and just thoughtfulness. I have to walk around the whole block of the street to take my trash out. It's just a whole host of little things that have forced me to get into a different routine. And I've started to really see the, I said, blossoms of that, where I've just begun to innately make better decisions when it comes to taking care of my home and of myself. Because it's really easy. I think for me, as someone who has always had to be responsible and was always responsible for, if it wasn't myself, was responsible for someone else, or was taking care of someone, or was doing something for someone, and also in charge of just my own things, compared to my peers who I didn't necessarily have to have that same sense of responsibility as they grew up. Some of that is my personality, and some of that just is circumstance, nature versus nurture, right? And I feel a lot of my peers haven't had maybe that same experience. Some have, for sure. And some have had worse experience than me, of course. But now, as an adult, it's not this new adventure of figuring out how I want to like take care of myself and be responsible for my things and my home and my space. It's just yet again a continuation of what I've always been tasked with, and it's always felt like a chore, and it's like a chore that I've never been able to get rid of. Along with just my own mental health struggles, it's, can be a challenge to take care of oneself, especially when you're by yourself and you live alone. Yeah, especially after living with someone like I did for so long. To be on your own is free and is liberating, but also, really forces yourself to look at yourself and to look at your habits when it's completely up to just you. What are you going to do? I think about a good example is like cooking or like making meals. I had to often cook for myself. My mom is a great cook and taught me how to cook, actually. My mom and my grandma did, and my great grandma. Just from always having me in the kitchen and like through osmosis. When you're young and you're in a kitchen, you like through osmosis like catch these things. And then Food Network was always something playing in the house when I was younger, so you just like once again kind of just like catch of like how the science behind baking, or like why baking soda or baking powder, or like the idea of that, you have onions, carrots, and celery, you can make any kind of sauce or any type of soup. And then once you understand like vegetables, like fruits, or like what different things have in common, you can then realize that you can switch out celery for peppers. In French it's called a mirepoix, but you can, substitute that with different names and then with different ingredients that all kind of create that same sort of like base aromatics when you look like across cultural cuisine. Anyways, all that to say, even though my mom cooked a lot, I also had to cook for myself, and like there would be days where I would be home alone because she had to work, and so I had to feed myself or make my sister food, and there were lots of circumstances where I had to look at what was in front of me, look what was in the fridge, and like make something happen. I also complained a lot and wanted to order food a lot, but it did give me these certain skills. But also that always felt like a chore to have to figure out for myself. And now as an adult, I know how to cook. I could cook anything. Give me a recipe, or like even just like let me taste something and break it down. I could probably make it. I can bake anything. I can cook anything. And I have an understanding like fundamentally of like how things work and why. But I don't fucking like it. I don't like to do it, and I don't want to do it, and it still feels like a chore to have to do it for myself. Which is also interesting because I was going to talk about in this episode, Venus retrograde, and Venus retrograde isn't just like relationships. It very much has to do with your home, especially because Venus is in my 5th house. And so there's a lot of like home and relationships and like safety feelings and indulgences. And so I'm reflecting really, and then also seeing my personal growth, which is nice. And I think sometimes we have to give ourselves a little pat on the back when we realize that we're just naturally starting to make better decisions. We're naturally starting to make better choices. We're consistently finding the consequences of not doing that. One thing I really hate doing is anything that has to do with my car. I am sure I'm not the only one. The DMV, it makes me so anxious. It makes me so anxious to go into somewhere not knowing the outcome, and then I may potentially like be doing something wrong. I don't know, it just makes me so nervous. But it just pays to be kind, you guys. So I had to basically, I don't even know, like, will I get in trouble if I say this on the internet? See, this is how much the car stuff like freaks me out. I didn't do my change of address, but then I renewed my registration, but then like online, but then I didn't get it because it went to my old address, and then like a dummy, I thought like, oh, well, I'll just go in and like get a replacement. They were like, no, bitch, that got returned. Like, you don't live there anymore. But like, she was really nice to me. This was the nicest DMV lady I've ever met. She let me, like, she told me, okay, like, I can't do that for you. We have to do all of these other things. You have to update everything, driver's license, registration, like, all of that stuff before we can even, like, get you to get the new registration. And I needed it, okay, because I had the paper one, the temporary paper one in my window, and it was about to expire. Or was expiring that day, okay? Or it expired 2 days ago, okay? So, like, I needed a car registration. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, it had to get figured out. But, like, I was like, in my mind, I was like, shit, Allie. Like, because I didn't bring any documents, because to just get a replacement car registration, you just need your driver's license. But because I, like, did that whole thing in, like, a dumb way where I thought I was being smart and I really wasn't, it fucked up everything. Basically, she let me like redo my license and my car registration with my new address, and like it was this whole thing. And like, because I was supposed to just do that quick and easy thing, I was in the express line, which, if you don't know, like, if you go in for something like that's less complicated, you get whatever your letter is, you're like in the fast line, because they like organize people based on what they need. I was like in the express line. They were closing in an hour, and I had already been there for an hour waiting. I think she maybe was on her break before she came back, I don't know. Anyways, she let me, like, I had to go through emails and emails and emails trying to find, I found my lease, easy peasy, but then I had to try to find my W-2, which I was so pissed because I had just taken my W-2 out of my purse. Why was my purse? Don't ask questions. Just listen, okay? My W-2 had been in my purse for like a whole month, and I had just taken it out the day before because I thought, Allie, why is this in your purse? You don't need it. You already filed your taxes. You didn't even need your paper copy. Anyways, so I was like, scrolling, logging in, changing passwords, figuring out, like, how do I get my W-2? Finally got my W-2. First I sent her the wrong form. She's like, honey, this doesn't work. You have to send me like a real thing. So I had to send her another thing. She printed it out. The lady at the DMV let me email it to her and then print it out. They do not do that, you guys. They do not do that. It's like in their website all over the place. It's on signs all over the place. Like, obviously they can, but it's not something that they do, because imagine if they did that for everybody, how long it would take to, like, get through the process. And also be a responsible adult and come prepared, which I thought I was. I thought for the first time in my life I was gonna like beep bop in and beep bop out of the DMV. Not what happened. Anyways, and she was so genuinely kind about it, and she didn't really have to be, and she didn't have to do any of that for me. And I was so grateful, and got it all figured out, and I was able to get my new registration and change my address. Everything's set, everything's good, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And it's like, oh, what a relief to get it done. If I hadn't procrastinated, right? Like, I wouldn't have gotten myself into all of that backward shit. But because I decided Allie could not procrastinate any longer, because in some scenarios in the past, I would have procrastinating, figuring that out a lot longer. And, you know, I really do try to spread joy and kindness everywhere I go. It's my little saying. And she was so kind to me and did that for me. And I just was like, wow. When you do come to people from a place of like just kindness and like gratitude, and you try to come from that place as often as you can, it will be returned to you in spades. And so it was just like that, like really lit up my life. That made me so happy. And thank you, girl. Okay, I am going to do a pull a card for us today. So let's get into it. I was originally going to do just like a normal tarot deck, but then, I don't know. I saw my animal and spirit guides deck and really felt like this would be something interesting and what you guys needed to hear this day. Which is so funny also too. I already like shuffled this and really like put some intention behind it and meditated with it a little bit. I do that always whenever I like pick a card or do anything tarot. Like, I spend time like preparing myself and preparing the deck beforehand, because otherwise we'd just be sitting here in silence for like 5 minutes. But look what was on the bottom of the deck after I was done shuffling. Unicorn! How cute is that? And I've never gotten unicorn before. Number 46, which always makes me think 10, because 6 plus 4 equals 10. Yeah, I'd never gotten unicorn before. And guess what the mantra was that went with it? It was magic is real. So this is just like a side message, maybe not for everybody, but if you need to hear like magic is real, like, look at me. This is only for certain people. It's real. Okay? Whatever you're thinking, I don't know, I'm there with you. Magic is real. Okay? Okay. Let us get a card. Oh, something wants to come out. For our highest and best good, what do we need to hear today? And there is a card missing out of the... Oh, I don't know if you can hear me. There is a card missing out of this deck. It's over there on my altar. It's the Raven card. Because it's... Why did I that this was going to come out. I saw this in the pre-shuffle and I thought, wouldn't that be so funny if this came out? Cannabis. We got cannabis. How fun is that? With 28, 9, 10. Once again, 10. Completion. Okay, let's look at cannabis in the deck guidebook. Cannabis. I honor myself and put my needs first. With its flowering stalks and unmistakable leaves, cannabis has a reputation like no other. It also requires precise growing conditions and knows a thing or two about the true meaning of patience and taking it day by day. The universe recognizes how hard you are working right now, but is urging you to take a moment for yourself to relax and connect with your highest self. It's a great moment to ask yourself, am I on my highest path? Cannabis draws your attention to the magnificence of pure awareness and presence, so you can see and feel what's really your truth. Slow down and enjoy a moment of peace. Sip from the well of spirit and replenish your soul. Take care of yourself holistically so that you can thrive. Wow, you guys, I've never gotten cannabis out of this deck either. That's so fun. And kind of a good reminder for me, which was funny. I was making a joke to myself earlier because I smoked when I got home like I do every day. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to wait a little bit before I record. Like, let me eat and like chill and like get ready before I record. So I'm like not so high. Because sometimes when I smoke right before I record these, I'm a little too high at the beginning. And I get a little like spacey, anyways, that's just funny because I was like making a joke about that earlier. Treat yourself, take care of yourself. Now, I don't know why coming to mind right now is how I have been getting better at being more and more intentional about my cannabis use and how much I smoke and when I smoke and why I smoke. As I've like become less reliant on it, I enjoy it more. Like the less I'm like I have to like get so fucking high in order to like pass out and go to sleep, because it was either that or like drink a bottle of wine at points in my life. And now it's like, I'll just go to bed. I already smoked like 2 hours ago. I don't need to smoke again. Like that's okay, that's growth. But anyways, which is also taking care of myself in the same way where I'm finding these ways to like weave in different rituals and like my nighttime routine. And I just got some new rosehip oil, you guys. I bought it straight from like a bulk company. It's like where people who like make soaps and things buy stuff from. But I was like, I need it straight from the source. Get it to me, which by the way, you can do that, like you don't have to use Amazon but I think that this is a reminder for me as well. And for you, I feel like I have been working hard. I feel like I've been really focused and trying to really push towards this vision of the future that I have, but also like in present day work really hard at my real job, not just what's going to happen in the future am I working towards, but also day to day my actual job is, I'm working hard and trying to do things. And if you're in that same position, which I have a feeling you are, and maybe not as exactly as mine, this is really a call to take some time for yourself and to find that balance. It's hard. It's hard to find that balance. I mean, that's why I didn't do the podcast at all during February, because I was just working and like stressed out and just like had a lot on my plate over the month of February and January a little bit. And like you have to like find focus there. But it took me out of balance, which I hate feeling out of balance. And this is just a reminder to try to find that balance, to try to find that presence. Like being in the present. I did a TikTok the other day about like walking and how you guys are like walking wrong, because when I go for a walk, I'm taking a nice cold glass of Sauvignon Blanc and smoking a J, and like I'm here to unwind and to be present with like my surroundings, not just to like gotta get my steps in, which there's a time and a place for everything, which is exactly the point, I think, of this cannabis card, right? Finding that balance and understanding, like changing intention behind things, Just because you do something one way and for one reason doesn't mean you can't do it for another or change up how you do it. You're allowed to have like enjoyment and pleasure and like fulfillment and like childlike, just fun. You're allowed to have fun and to kick back and relax. Like, this is life. We're not meant to be so like nose to the stone, grind, working our life away. Yes, we have goals. Yes, there's a time and place for discipline. Yes, we have to do things in order to get results, with the results that you want, very person to person. But that also doesn't mean that you can't relax, take a break. So if you're really stressed out, take a personal day. Relax, smoke a J, right? Take a walk. Do one of my unwind walks. Be chill. Chill out. Wow, that was fun. I feel like you guys might have needed to hear that more than I need to hear that. Because, I'm pretty motherfucking chill all the time. To the point where, maybe it's not, a good thing, To the point where, maybe you need to be, a little less chill. Before we really get into Venus retrograde, which I definitely want to talk about because there are just some patterns and some things that I am noticing personally and in pop culture. But I do just wanted to highlight what was going on in Palestine and in the West Bank. I think that this was just on Monday. The director of No Other Land, which is a great documentary. It won the Oscar for Best Documentary at the Oscars that just happened a month ago. Co-directed by Hamdan Bilal, who is Palestinian, and Yuval Abraham, who is Jewish. It's co-directed by them about the destruction that is going on in the West Bank by the Israeli government to the Palestinians and wiping them from existence, wiping their homes out and bringing in these settlements for these Jewish settlers, claiming that it's their land. We've talked about this before, but it's a really great documentary, so you should go and watch it. But I think it was just on Monday, Hamdan Bilal was out in the streets, in his home neighborhood in Palestine. I don't remember exactly. I'll link the article below, but I think maybe he was at a friend's house. They were celebrating Ramadan. They were having a Ramadan, breaking the fast. That's what it was. He was over at somebody's house, and when he was on his way home, or maybe he had already. The specifics are in the article, Allie. The specifics are in the article. Sorry, I'll go on and on and on and on. But he was attacked by these Jewish settlers. Basically, what his co-director Yuval tweeted was, a group of settlers just lynched Hamdan Bilal, co-director of our film No Other Land. They beat him and he has injuries in his head and stomach, bleeding. After these group of settlers violently and viciously attacked him, you've all used the word lynched, then Hamdan was arrested by the Israeli police. Excuse me, and imprisoned and interrogated and beaten more. In his account, he's since been released. Hamdan experienced being beaten by the Israeli soldiers while he was imprisoned, and heard them reference his name in Oscars. We're assuming that they are potentially, that they knew who he was. Well, obviously they knew who he was, but potentially, making fun of him for it, or obviously enacting these acts of cruelty because of his involvement of telling, his story and his country's story, his people's story, which here on Babblings, we're all about telling people's stories. And, we're grateful that he was released, and we don't know, maybe because of the attention that this was getting, really put pressure on the Israeli military to let him go. But it's really sad and it's really devastating. And that is just one case, that we know of, that we're talking about right now. Things like this are happening constantly and all the time. The Palestinians are not only under attack from the Israeli military, who, by the way, has broken ceasefire. I think I saw that 33 people were killed yesterday by the Israeli government. They've continued this just onslaught of bombing and torturing, once again, the Palestinians. But also you have these Jewish settlers who are moving into these people's towns, taking these people's homes, now feeling emboldened enough to go and attack this very well-known man. He won an Oscar a month ago, and they feel so emboldened and to go attack him. One, because they were so upset, I think, of the documentary that he made and the truth that he was exposing. I just wanted to bring light to what is going on and has continued to go on in Palestine. This case of Hamdan is very similar to many cases across the US right now, where there are people on visas, most likely students, being detained and basically, in my opinion, being kidnapped and taken away for no reason. Their visas are good, they've done nothing. They've broken no laws. There's no reason why they should be in trouble. If you look any further, you'd realize that they've maybe been publishing articles about Palestine or participating in protests or different things like that. And it's just another case of this censorship. And so if they can do it on the level of Hamdan, of course they're doing it on the level of others. That's scary to talk about that happening in another place in Palestine, right? But it's scary for us to talk about it happening here in the United States. People have this idealized version that things like that don't happen here, when clearly they do and always have, especially to Black and brown people. Another article I link for you below is about how even in Israel, there are Israelis protesting Netanyahu, and saying what they feel is a dissent from democracy, similar to how many of us are feeling, here in the States. And I think it's important to know, right? Because there's this very glorified, beautiful, shimmering propaganda, speaking of, we'll get into something else in a minute, being spread to people about Israel and about the Israeli government that just completely glamorizes and oversimplifies the true horrors and atrocities that they are enacting and the genocide that is happening to the Palestinian people. I'll have a couple GoFundMes linked below for different people in Palestine if you are interested in sharing your support. It would always, I'm sure, be very much appreciated. But, it's one of those ongoing cases that is truly just devastating and shows the ugliest side of human nature. Excuse me. Speaking of propaganda, you guys, I read Sunrise on the Reaping in literally 12 hours. It's really good. Suzanne really did her big one with this. If you are a Hunger Games lover, or you read the original trilogy, the lore that we get in this for basically every character, or almost every character, is insane, and it draws a lot of dots. But even more than that, the storytelling that she's doing here, showing how the Capitol uses propaganda and has complete control, right? Complete control of the narrative that goes to the districts. And this is touched on, definitely I think in the main series, how the Capitol really relies on the districts being so separated, right? And not having communication with each other, making it harder for them to share information or to know that other people in the districts are also unhappy with their conditions, or that there are, different revolutions or rebels popping up everywhere. But if you're just alone district and you don't know that and you think you're all alone, you don't realize how you really outnumber the Capitol, right? The districts themselves, the people, not only outnumber the Capitol presence in each of their districts, but completely outnumber the Capitol as a whole. Similar to how us as Americans completely outnumber our government, our officials, police officers, anybody that has power in this country. The powerless actually outnumber them, right? And the power in thinking that and keeping those people that actually outnumber you, keeping them from realizing that, keeping them from realizing that we're not the only ones that just feel this way, right? The cover-ups, the twists, the turns, the cutting of footage, the interview bites, the coaching, it's all so interesting. And, she says she doesn't write unless she has something to say. And you can definitely understand why in this time where there is so much fake news and propaganda from all sides, from everywhere, right? Being pushed at us constantly through the internet and TikTok and social media and echo chambers. And then you're thinking you're just getting fed back in these loops of information, just reconfirming to you what you thought. But really, it might not be. You're just you think you're getting everything, but really you're only getting this tiny piece of the pie. and how it keeps us, powerless. And the power of reading through the lines, reading through propaganda. I mean, even this book shows us that us as readers of the original series fell into capital propaganda of what this game was, of what happened in this game that it covers, of Hamish's game. So it's just really interesting. And so if you're looking to pick something up, Sunrise on the Reaping, and it's like just such an easy read, because really these are like kid books, I mean, YA, I guess, but so, they're not hard reads. I did feel like it was a little rushed at some parts, and at some parts I thought, is this really necessary? Or is this, like, what are we doing this for? Is this just like fan service? But, really good and makes you think, and especially if you've read the original trilogy, you're just going to get a lot of nuggets. You're going to get a lot of nuggets that make you happy. Okay, let's talk about Venus retrograde. So Venus went into retrograde on March 1st, and I believe it's going to be in retrograde until April 13th, like mid-April-ish. And Venus retrograde is so retrogrades, right? I think the most like popular and like pop culture retrograde reference would be Mercury retrograde. And Mercury, because Mercury deals with like communication and technology, often when we're in a Mercury retrograde, technology goes haywire, things like that you think, you told someone you actually didn't, or you miss an email at work, or like some important like tech fails, like different things like that. But really, like a retrograde is about reflection. The planets aren't actually moving backwards. They've just slowed down so much that from us on Earth, it looks like they're moving backwards, but they're just not. They're just like moving very, very, very slowly. And so if you look at that idea of one, moving slowly, but also looking back at the past, looking back at things, reflecting on them, how they worked, how they didn't work. So in a Mercury retrograde, you might be thinking a lot about communication in the past that you had with someone or with a group of people, and how maybe you should have communicated better, or someone could have communicated better to you, or how maybe you didn't communicate at all, right? Or maybe how you understood something. When we're talking about Venus retrograde, we're reflecting on the Venus energy of like relationships and things we desire and things that we indulge in, things that we find comfort in. Again, Venus can also be about our home and our home life and how we take care of it, and maybe reflecting on past houses or homes or places that we felt like homes, and reflecting on how they made us feel or how they didn't make us feel, or how we would have wanted to maybe react, or how we could have created circumstances better, yada 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 yada. And then of course, based on your house placements, where Venus ends up in your chart, you can get more and more specific about Venus retrograde and what aspect of your life you're going to be looking at. But in general, I think probably the most common things that people talk about when they talk about a Venus retrograde would be relationships. And I think that, I've definitely found myself reflecting a lot on past relationships in my life, and really thinking about like not feeling safe, for one, but also this idea of infidelity and cheating has been coming up. And I've really been reflecting on times when I maybe did something that I shouldn't have done, or when that was done to me. And so this idea of betrayal, honestly, this idea of reflecting on how I may have betrayed someone, or how they may have betrayed me, and like these close relationships have been a lot of themes that I've been reflecting on. And it's so funny because also as a collective we're doing that as well, because the Hailey Bieber, Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez thing came up again, and it comes up like every 2 years. And how funny that it came up during a Venus retrograde. Now obviously she just put out an album, so a lot of that was like PR stuff and like ramping us up on this like thing that fans have had for decades, this like constant push and pull, because nobody will ever know like what really happened. So there's all these crazy theories. And like, honestly, I don't really care, like whatever. Like, I'm not a big Selena-nator or whatever you call it, and I'm not a big Bieber. Now I do love Bieber. He has a special place in my heart just because like he was it, when I was growing up. He was my Justin Timberlake. He was my Britney Spears, like because of like if I would have been in K-Women. You know what I mean. Not that he was like my actual Britney Spears. I love Britney Spears. But he was like that kind of like big thing going on, but also really like who I really loved was Mindless Behavior. Like Justin Bieber could have been in the room, but if Mindless Behavior was there, which by the way, Mindless Behavior came to my middle school. Yeah, I was one of the lucky middle schools that they came and toured at. A Mindless Behavior had me in a chokehold that was so strong. My girl, she loves me. My girl. I can't get into it. I used to listen to them religiously, and my one friend Kayla, she had this really cool jacket. Well, she had one of those jackets, you know, where the tie or like the laces that went through the hood were earbuds. I used to wear this. I used to borrow from her and wear this, and like, why did you let me borrow this so much, girl? Like, thank you. Sometimes I feel like maybe I was a little demanding as a child. Like thank you, because she really let me use this like all the time. I would listen to Mindless Behavior, and I'd put that on, and like, you know, you like put it in your hand, and then like you put your head on your hand, so it looks like you're just like resting. But really, my girl, she loves me. Oh my god, I love Mindless Behavior. Anyways, I did like Justin Bieber, especially when he first came out. Now God bless, I think he needs help. They all need help. The music industry is very, very dark, which is what I mean when I say that's what I care about. I don't really care about all of that, but I did go into a deep dive, and what I care about with this like Bieber, Selena Nader drama, which Hailey Bieber, you know, she did do some Destiny swap stalker shit, but I don't think it was totally her fault because she was a child too. It's the church. Why is nobody talking about this church? California Community Church or whatever it's called, California All Community. It's Kris Jenner's church. So I went a bit on a deep dive, and like, this is what I care about, because I think this, like, behind the like what is going on there, you know, like, was she stalking? Who does he love? He doesn't like her, blah blah blah. Behind all of that is really like the insidiousness of like the music and celebrity industry and the church that Justin Bieber goes to, which is connected to Kris Jenner and Lou Taylor, who was Britney Spears's like one of her business managers that like got her into a conservatorship against like her will, obviously, and has tried to do that with many other people. Very scammy person, okay? Very, 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 very crazy person. You've got the Kardashians involved in this church. And so here's what I found out. At the least, allegedly, because I don't know these people. I don't really know. I'm going off of like instinct. Okay, obviously. Okay, anyways, click the links below if you want to go down a rabbit hole. At the least, this California community, whatever, blah, 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 is just a tax shelter, right? They're just evading taxes. Add on to that, they also might be they also might be laundering money, okay? On the worst side of this is that this is a cult sex trafficking ring that is also a tax shelter, that is also washing money, that is also maybe allegedly in the past washing money to pay off somebody with a P and a D's victims, allegedly, okay? Because then you know they're all connected, right? And then I also was watching this video, and apparently, because Justin Bieber used to be at this church, I don't know if he still is, Hailey Bieber's a part of it, all of the time. And I look at this case, and what I see is someone who is very talented, but very, very capable of making a lot of people a lot of money. Justin Bieber is a huge financial asset to a lot of people, right, in the industry. And getting control of him and getting control of his money. So they needed to get him citizenship. So they needed to get him married. And then they also need to get control of his money. And they also wanted him in this church, right? And I think Justin Bieber, you know, he has always been somebody that like was like talked about God and like said he was a Christian and stuff like that. But there's these like, when I was watching this timeline of Justin, Selena, and Hailey, and at one point they were like going to church, like he would go to church with Selena and then go to church with Hailey, and they'd go, then they'd go get lunch. They'd go like play golf, mini golf, I don't know. Then they go back to church. Then they go to dinner. Then they go back to church. And then they go to church, and then Hailey would go to church. Why are they always at church? Okay? The only reason you're going back and forth to this place so much, one is if it's a high demand religion or cult group that is demanding this much time of you, that would place it in a box of a high demand religion or group. Or two, it's not just church. And we all know the Hillsong stuff, and they're connected with Hillsong just as Bieber is. Anyways, I think it's all very dark and twisted, and I do think Hailey was groomed to be his handler, and they kind of arranged the whole situation, and I do think that the Kardashians are in on it, because I do think that the Jenners purposely did take Selena to Dubai for New Year's Eve so that Hailey could be with Justin that New Year's Eve to get him together, okay? Because if anything, young girls are mean, and if you are a rich young girl with access to unlimited resources, why would you not take it to the levels of taking somebody to Dubai to get them away from the man that your best friend likes? If you would do that to take them to fucking Wendy's, and you had the resources to take them to Dubai, why would you not? You know what I mean? So anyways, I think it's just been interesting as a collective during this Venus retrograde that we have been kind of once again in pop culture unpacking this like weird trio scenario that is the Biebers and Selena Gomez. But I think that there is a deeper message to take away from there, and it's to kind of look at this control and manipulation that the adults actually had at the time, and this promotion of this church and control. Also, one time Bieber got pulled over and I think maybe got a DUI after leaving the church, and he was in Kourtney Kardashian's car. Let's not even get into when him and Kourtney Kardashian were hooking up, because now that's starting to feel like a Madam Beep Allie. Walk away. Walk away. Walk away. Walk away. Because you are not taking me out today. You are not taking me out today. Yeah, and which, funny too, because it's kind of this question of, what was the relationship like, and was he cheating, was he not, and it's on and off, and all of this different stuff. And back to what I was saying about my relationships and reflecting on my scenarios, and looking at Hailey, looking at Selena, and looking at being young and being so in love with maybe not even just the guy, but being in love with the idea of the guy and the relationship and the way I felt about people that I was into. I can't imagine if they were actually Justin Bieber, just that level of like celebrity and money and fame that comes with that idea. And so, like I'm sure Hailey Bieber does, and I think a lot of people, I do believe that you can get over things. I do believe you can get past cheating. You can get past really anything, but it's about it's what can you really get past, because it's like, what's your actual bandwidth? And you have to know that. I don't think it's just like love or forgiveness or whatever, or just like we have to work through it. No, if that is your hard and dead line, that's your hard and dead line. For me, when I was younger, it's a little bit different now. When I was younger, I definitely saw sex and sexual relationships as very flippant, and it wasn't something that I saw or took very seriously. And so when I was in college, I did, technically, I guess, cheat on my boyfriend at the time. We were living on opposite sides of the country or whatever, but there was a period when we were together and I hooked up with other people. Don't get too mad at me though, because he was doing the same thing, just lying about it. And and then it ended up coming out, he was doing the same thing. And actually though, mine was much more discreet versus his, which is another issue for another day. But, I really was able to get past that. And I really think he was too. Those things that happened between 18 or 17 and 20, really, we were able to get over it. We were able to move past it. I really was able to get over those things. However, it was when we were then adults and I had matured enough to realize my mistakes and wanted to be different, and he was still repeating those same behaviors, when I really couldn't get over it. And I think I'm someone that's always been like, I want to know the rules. I want it to be fair. If you're going to hook up with people, then let me know. Let's have an open relationship and I'll hook up with people. I even like offered that one time. I was like, I'm like a really cool girlfriend, you guys. When I was like a little like out of my mind, like I needed like a lobotomy, what the leeway I was giving this man, okay? Yeah, like I couldn't get over us now being like 22 and you driving girls around in my car because you don't have your own car, right? Like that was very different than when we were on opposite sides of the country and we like were having like these little one night stands, you know? Like I could get past that. I can work through that. This now we're in a different place. It's all about time and place. And I think about, you know, my little sister, or I think about friends and family. And, you know, I think sometimes we put up with things that we wouldn't tell other people to put up with. We wouldn't tell other people to forgive, but we tell ourselves that maybe we're supposed to, or we're so infatuated with this idea of what the relationship is or could one day be that we can warp our minds into thinking that certain behaviors like that are okay. Where, you know, now, like, no, I totally wouldn't put up with that. I don't even really want to date someone who's like dating multiple people, you know, like obviously like not off rip, but like I don't talk to like tons of people all the time. So like because I just realized like what that is actually like to give people like time, energy, and effort like in a real and authentic way, and just like wouldn't be feasible or real or authentic if I was like doing it constantly into constant like different people, which is why I'm not on the apps anymore. I just really can't do the apps. I was thinking there were a couple times during this Venus retrograde that I almost re-downloaded the apps, but I'm so glad I didn't, because how many other motherfuckers downloaded it during Venus retrograde, you know, and I probably would have ran into them, and none of them are healed. None of them know what they want. They're all just like flippity floop flop floop floop. I don't know, like something's in the air. I want to download Hinge again. I think I want to date someone again. You know, so many people I think say they want to date, or say they want a boyfriend, say they want a girlfriend, say they want a partner, and they don't really, because you don't really know what that means. I don't think a lot of people understand what being in like partnership or like dating someone means. We need to get this straight, okay? We need to get straight. Like everybody's like talking stage, blah 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 blah. Here are my definitive stages of like getting to know someone, dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, like ex-partners, etc. Okay? For me, like, and you can disagree, but like, I truly feel that I am right, and this is the only right opinion, but do whatever you want to do. Talking is when you just met someone, and you're literally like texting or on the phone to like get to know each other. Okay? And I can't talk to someone for more than like a couple of days. Maybe a week at most, but at some point during that week, I know that we have plans to eventually meet up, right? So like talking to someone is just like, it's even not even really getting to know anyone, right? Because you don't want to like give everything away, because then like what the fuck are you going to talk about? And also everybody doesn't need to deserve to know everything about you the first time you ever talk, okay? So a talking stage, couple of days, max a week, maybe 2 weeks, I'll give it, you know, circumstance, okay? This isn't me pressuring. This is me just saying, like, let's be realistic, because if it's 2 weeks and we don't have a plan to meet up in person, and we're not at, like, some extreme physical distance, I don't really, what are we doing this for, right? Like, what are we doing? Okay, then you go on the first date. Now, this is kind of an in-between, right? I feel like between a first and a second date, this could still kind of be a talking stage, still kind of getting to know someone. But I do feel like if you've had a second date and you're for sure going on a third date, you're now dating someone, okay? When you are going on and seeing someone consistently on like planned, scheduled meetups, you're now dating someone, okay? And dating does not need to be exclusive. You know, nothing does. I don't know, make up your own rules. But, like, I think it's important to differentiate talking, because it really, that beginning stage of like, that is just a flash in the pan, right? Dating is then when we're consistently over and over meeting up, we're seeing each other, and it still might not work out. You might go on 4 dates and be like, okay, actually, really, this isn't working. I still would consider that dating. I would consider, 6 dates, like going on dates for a good chunk of time. I would say like for like a month or two. For like a month to 2 or 3, like, you're still dating someone. And if that timeline, like if you want to date someone longer, that's fine. But I do feel like after a certain point, you realize whether you want to like talk to someone or not. Like you want to like be with someone or not. And then, but just, you have to make your intentions known, right? And then after like dating is when you're like in a partnership with someone. Do you want to be my boyfriend? Do you want to be my girlfriend? Do you want to be my partner? Like we're going to just like, or, I don't really know how, I'm not familiar with, like, the conversations that you have, like, to, like, be like, do you want to be my polycule? Or, like, I'm dating someone else, but, like, I'm, like, boyfriend, girlfriend with someone else, but, like, I want to be boyfriend and girlfriend with you, too. Like, however that works. You're then past the dating stage, and now you're in like a partnership phase. And that partnership phase can go on for however, and you can continue to define it more, you can continue to define it the same way. It could end up in marriage, you could not get married, I don't care. I'm not a big like you have to get married person, like, do I even want to get married? I don't know. The thought scares me and makes me claustrophobic, actually, a little bit. No, literally, the other day I was talking about someone getting married, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, like, and I started, like, rubbing my neck, and I was like, oh my god, I literally get, like, itchy, the thinking about me getting married. Maybe it's just because I haven't found the right person. But I'm so tired of situationships, and I'm so tired of, like, oh yeah, we've been talking for, like, 6 months. So you're dating and you're gonna be partners. What do you mean you've been talking for 6 months? Like, maybe, yes, you've been, like, actually, like, literally talking to each other for 6 months. But, like, that's not, like, a defining relationship. I don't know. That's how you get into a situationship. Okay? Which I've never... my days are done with being any types of close to any type of situationship. Okay? The thing is, you could never find me in a situationship because, like, I like to be by myself. So, like, you'll just never hear from me. You just never would hear from me again. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be like, I don't know. I feel like back to college, like, when there were, like, then this wasn't just, like, when I was cheating. We were broken up for a period of time, and I was, like, hooking up with people. But that was, like, just, like, hooking up, right? So, like, if you just want to hook up, then just be fuck buddies, right? Like, I was fuck buddies with a couple of people, like, where that's literally what it is. Like, I see you at a party, I know that we can hook up tonight, But, like, am I texting you all day long? Am I telling you all of my secrets? Like, no, that's not what this is, right? So, if you want to have that, fine. Just don't try to confuse someone into thinking that you want something different. And if someone's trying to give you something that you don't want, say no. Say no, thank you. That's not what I want. This is what I want. And if you can't give it to me, then we'll go our separate ways. No dick is worth it, girl. No dick is worth it, girl. Okay? Anyways, so yeah, I feel like this Venus retrograde has really had me reflecting on that. Like I said, like, betrayal and cheating. Mostly just in a way of, like, helping me define what I will and won't be okay with in the future. Because I'm a lover girl. I really am. And like I've said, I can go a little, like, delulu to try to make things work. And I think one of the reasons why I've maybe have developed this avoidant attachment is because I'm so worried about being in that place again where I lose sense of, like, what I really want and how I really feel about things and what my boundaries are. And it got so cloudy before. I don't know if anybody relates to me in that way, but where you just lose all sense of, like, yeah, like, your boundaries and what's important to you and standing up for yourself and, like, drawing a line in the sand, like, like I said, like there was stuff that I could get over. Which is why I don't judge anyone for staying with someone or whatever. I worry because I've also was in a place where I was pretending I was over things that I wasn't really, right? But there are some situations where like you really can move forward and you really can forgive someone and their transgressions depending on the circumstances and depending on how you want that relationship to look. I'm not promoting cheating. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying you should forgive someone. I'm just saying I have an understanding of how some people might find themselves in that situation, right? And if you are truly able to forgive and move on and rebuild trust and not have those trust issues like continue to like percolate in your relationship, then God bless. That's amazing. But I realized, oh yeah, like I really didn't care about that stuff or that one girl or, one time or, I was reflecting on all of these different things. I was like, I really didn't care about that. And then I was reflecting on my own actions and thinking about how I was just so flimsy. And I definitely hurt, my ex, and not just him. I've hurt other people for sure because of my actions, but I take responsibility for that. And I've learned and I've moved on, and I now like would never do that to someone ever again. And I would never like betray someone's trust, and I have no like interest in it either. Versus when I was young and I was very about sex, I was like, yeah, whatever. It's, this very glamorized idea maybe from somewhere. And now, I just have so much more respect for like people's feelings and people's boundaries and my own and a relationship's boundaries, and just also have no like interest in stepping outside of a relationship because I know that if I'm in one, like I'm really in one. And once I was like really in love and like really in and had matured and my frontal lobe wasn't finished growing, but it started growing, and then I went to therapy, and then I got medication. But even before that, I was able to be in a place of like, I have no interest in, continuing those behaviors. And for them, the opposite party to not only continue, but to like increase in the velocity that they were participating and cheating on me. Like, it was like, what the fuck is going, like, am I like crazy? Like that's what I couldn't let go of. I couldn't get over us feeling like we were finally in a safe and secure space and realizing that it was just me. Now I'm also petty and I'm also stubborn, right? And so I don't like being the odd man out. I don't like anyone getting one over on me. I don't like the idea of you getting to go around and sow your wild oats and I'm just sitting at home, right? I don't like looking like a fucking loser. So my pride is also hurt in that sense as well. And why, if I have gotten to this place where we've been able to forgive each other and grow and move forward and said that we would change, okay, we said we would change me better, I'm doing that, you're not doing that now. And I think that's really the biggest test. Don't know necessarily if it's actual infidelity and the fallout of it. In some cases, obviously, yes, this is a case-by-case scenario. But I think an even bigger test and the real make or break is after you make a mistake and you say you're sorry and you say you're going to be better, are you really going to be? And I think that's really what this Venus retrograde was about. Reflection for me, looking at past mistakes that I've made, looking at ways that people have hurt me, and looking at the times that I said, I won't do that again. I'm going to grow, I'm going to change, and I'm going to be better. And I actually did. Everybody else in my life has not done that, to this day. And it allowed some forgiveness for myself for things that I held on to and persecuted myself for, but also because I was made to feel bad. I was made to feel like I was the one in the wrong when I wasn't always. I was made to feel like when I was just being genuine and like it was taken out of context and like I was made to be the bad guy. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. When we were like really together in college, it was his birthday. Mind you, we're across the country. And this is truly me being dead serious and me being dead real, like in the time that I was in. I would not say the same thing now, but like 19-year-old Allie was like a cool fucking bitch, okay? And like I was like, whatever. I said, listen, it's your birthday. I can't be with you. Like, if you want to, go out, maybe, something, like, I'm gonna say, like, if something happens tonight, like, that's okay, like, I just want you to know, like, do you, like, just let me, like, just, like, be honest with me about it, like, blah, 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 blah. Because I really am, like, can be a really cool fucking person and, like, be really chill as long as things are communicated with me. Anyways, I got literally berated for that. I was made to be such an awful person for even implying that something like that might happen, or saying that like I'd be cool if something did happen like that. Like, I think I literally said, no, I can't say what I said, like, because I need to do better about censoring this when it goes on YouTube. But yeah, and I actually did yelled at me. And got very upset with me for saying that. One of his friends got very upset with me for saying that. I was made out to look like a whore. There goes censoring. And like the worst girlfriend ever for ever saying anything like that. Meanwhile, he was cheating on me with a specific girl, like basically in a second relationship with her, right? So that's the kind of dumb shit, like, that's the kind of stuff that it tore me down. It tore me down and chipped away at this genuine, free-loving, free-going person. And it made me feel like I was crazy for feeling certain ways and that I shouldn't feel certain ways, and really put me on edge. I realize with this Venus retrograde, I never want to feel like that again. I now am grown enough and confident enough and have enough experiences to like feel firm in my feelings and to not be pushed around and to not be made to feel like a bad person, when in fact the other person is actually doing much worse. Well, I've been babbling for forever. I probably should go. I've literally been recording for a long time, over an hour and 22 minutes. Hopefully this episode doesn't end up too long. I'm sure I can probably chop a lot of that out. I wanted to keep it under an hour because those perform better, but it's fine. I had a lot to say. I hope that you are really reflecting and maybe having some aha moments as I am during this dual Mercury and Venus retrograde as we lead up to the solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse. It'll be in Aries on the 29th. Neptune is moving into Aries, I believe. There's a lot going on. New energy, new shit. It's March. Let's go. Check out all of the links below. Please go subscribe to my Babbling Substack. Subscribe if you are on YouTube. Follow if you're on a podcast. Like, share, comment. Love you. Mwah.